Welcome to United Constitutional Patriots Radio Show with your host Johnny. Today we will be talking about the New Mexico, the border on Mexico throughout Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico, as well as California. I will now turn the microphone over to Johnny. So here's Johnny.
Thank you, Pete. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the United Constitutional Patriots Monday Night Show. I want to welcome all of you. We have a lot to cover tonight, folks, and we've got information that when you think America is safe and that the borders are safe, and especially the state of New Mexico, well, got an eye-opener for you because Mr. Alex Beckman is our special guest tonight, and from Mexico. And what he has to tell you, folks, you might want to take notes because he opened our eyes even. We have Troy that also reports from us, and this coincides with what Troy has told us in the past, but Alex has a whole lot more information. However, on the border, we are still needing men. We're still needing help. We're still needing donations, which I'll get into that after Mr. Beckman talks. But we have had a lot of people that have been helping with donations. We had some people from right here, and I want to thank a fellow by the name of Pete and a fellow by the name of Chuck. They stopped by our headquarters today and left rather large donation of food for the men on the border to help them out, and they said they would help any way they could. They're great guys, and they started listening to us. I want to welcome them. I want to say welcome Warren and CJ out of Louisiana. She's a retired detective. Now, speaking of detectives, we also have a report that's going to be covered tonight on a shooting in Louisiana that's taking place can't remember where it is. My mind just went blank. But anyway, Houston, Texas, where there's been five officers have been shot. It's still a standoff, which we will cover that a little bit later. We're going to cover not just the border crisis, but other things also. I don't know if Pete's going to have his Pete's Corner in here tonight, but I hope he has something to say. But in the meantime, I'm going to turn this over right now to Alex Beckman. A lot of people know who he is. He's followed by a lot of people. And to tell you what, after talking to this gentleman the other day, we talked for, a good hour or so, and he met the staff. And this man is amazing. His knowledge of what is going on, his boots on the ground, reporting, and being a journalist that he is. This man puts his life on the line for America as well as Mexico. So with that, I want to welcome you, Alex, and I will let you go ahead, and we're all waiting to hear your report. And it's a blessing to have you. We're very privileged to have you, and thank you for being with us, sir.
Thank you, Commander Horton. It's a pleasure to everybody in America that's listening to this voice from south of the border. I have great information for everybody, so keep your eyes open and your ears peeled to what you're about to listen to. My reporting down in Mexico as a journalist, as an independent media outlet, has been huge. The coverage that we have been doing, not only on the caravan, the migrant caravans, that they should not be called like that. Basically, it's using immigration as a weapon of mass destruction via the weakening system along the border for the United States. They're trying to use a war of attrition, a war where they can weaken the position of the United States with regard to immigration by using the massive influx of people from other nations, which are now being called just migrants, because unlawful or illegal is not the word that allowed to be used by me as a journalist anymore. Even the Mexican government, through one of its agencies against discrimination, sent me a 16-page letter just in the month of November asking me to be silent, that my right to freedom of speech has its limits, all because I criticized illegal immigration. As you saw the video that went viral around the world, tens of thousands of illegal immigrants stormed through the Mexico border down south in Chiapas with Guatemala. Now, as they stormed through, they attacked the Mexican federal police. They injured Mexican federal police officers also in Guatemala. The officers were injured, and that shows us that they even attacked a federal police helicopter. Now, when we see these types of individuals crossing through the border by force, it means that they are using aggression as a form of inserting themselves into another country, wearing their own flag, be it the flag of Honduras or the flag of El Salvador. At this point, they're wearing a flag, invading another country. Now, I checked the Mexican Constitution. It clearly says what is to be treated as an invasion, even if they are not using necessarily cannons or massive amounts of weapons. There were issues and cases where even Mexican officers were shot at using Glocks. So we know that they are aggressive in nature. Just with the new caravan that recently came through, now it's 10,000. We were being told it was 500 forming in San Pedro Sula on the 15th of January. On the night previous to the 14th, a man was arrested down in Honduras. He's one of the leaders of the new caravan that formed. He was arrested by the authorities in Honduras for rape charges. So that's something interesting. And another thing is that then they said it was 1,500. Then out of nowhere, the Mexican government, as they allowed them to percolate supposedly in an orderly fashion through the Chiapas border, started saying that it was 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. And now it turns out it's more than 10,000 individuals, mostly male, between 17 and 45 years of age, that are crossing through the Mexican border with the support of the Mexican government. Now, why this sudden change in immigration law enforcement in Mexico, or the lack thereof? Well, basically because Mexico just changed regime into a socialist state, very similar to the same policies that are being enacted in other countries, much like Venezuela, when Hugo Chavez started coming into power. In fact, Mexico did not define a posture against Nicolas Maduro being deposed from power just last week. In fact, they are willing to support the regime of a narco-dictatorship. So the situation begins to be understood in the clarity of the actions or non-actions by the Mexican government. Just last 10th of December in Marrakesh, Morocco, they signed a UN treaty to allow for the massive migration of people in an orderly way into any nation they wish, just to remain there for however long they want, and then just select any other country where they want to be migrated into. And this is being used, again, immigration as a weapon to weaken the United States. Which other country in the world offers freedom, liberty, and justice for all? The United States of America. We don't see it in Europe anymore. We don't see it in Africa. We rarely see it in Asia. So we know that Latin America is still the fight between dictators and the failed states that are already, being turned into what some of the 21st century, which is basically the new Soviet model of infiltrating locally. All governments are being infiltrated locally to harness political power and then go up the ranks until they become a political force, a political party, then get voted into power through populism and through a process obviously not going to be fulfilled during whoever is in power. Just like in Mexico right now, they gave the best promises to all the people that obviously are living in extreme poverty, and obviously the people voted a new populist regime into power. But this brings in something that is very important. Mexico supports the massive migration of people into its country lawfully now in order to get them into the United States. So now Mexico has become the theater of operations where massive amounts of people that really do not have the need to flee their own nations because they're not in a state of war per se, are being used to bring them up to the border, shore them up at the border, and force the Trump administration to change its policy with regard to a closed border policy. Again, the same people that are behind the socialization of our nations, the new communism of the 21st century, the perestroika deception, the Gorbachev plans from the 1960s to make the U.S. believe that communism is dead, that the wall came down, and that basically the new green agenda via environmentalism, via the sustainable Agenda 21, which failed, now it's Agenda 30, the same type of agendas that are being pushed down Mexican people's throats are already being enacted. And it's very worrisome because when we see illegal immigration being used as a coercive method, as a weapon, it's very difficult to fight against it because you're not being shot at per se, but they're using it as a political tool, and that is making the U.S. obviously look bad in the political arena worldwide. Oh, it's the U.S. that got out of the Paris Accord. It's the U.S. that does not support this. Oh, it's the U.S. behind a possible coup d'etat against yet another narco dictator down in South America. So the situation here in Mexico with regard to immigration is very similar of what we saw in Europe in the early or in the mid 2010s, 2015, with the escalation of terrorism in the Middle East, the civil war in Syria and Iraq. That vacuum that was created by the U.S. Created the rise of what we would call Al-Qaeda 2.0, which is ISIS. Now, ISIS and its proclamation of extending terrorism worldwide, its successes, and obviously now its downfall. But now, apparently, with the removal of U.S. troops from Syria, it's creating another situation that is also endangering the region once again. In fact, it's a powder keg in itself. But as Syria is being left alone by the U.S. to a certain degree, we know that Syrian terrorists have been arriving since 2015 into Venezuela. And it is there where they are being trained, given papers, passports, and taught perfect Spanish. So what you see here is trained professionals in the theater of terrorism being prepared to be inserted into Mexico via the caravans, and that's what we've been seeing. In fact, in Honduras, there have been arrests. We know that there's a huge illegal passport trafficking out of Syria in order to bring them into the Americas and bring them into Mexico. Just last year in Guatemala, 100 ISIS militants were arrested, and then the whole story got hushed up. So we know that these things are happening, but then they get swept under the rug, so nobody pays attention. But once you start looking at all the data points, once you start connecting all the dots, you start seeing that there's a plan, there's an agenda, there's a way where these people are pre-positioning themselves in multiple areas and multiple agendas or fronts in order to bring the United States down. And that is very worrisome to anybody that understands world politics and understands how the agenda has been pushed against the United States in order for its laws to be changed, We saw it during 8 years of the Obama administration, how they tried to change the United States quickly into a Marxist state, and they failed to do so. And now the people fed up, voted Donald Trump into power, and now the attacks that Donald Trump has been receiving, okay, are not enough. So who's financing these illegal immigrants coming into Mexico? I can't call them illegal now because they're being legally inserted now into Mexico in a massive scale because they're getting this card of rights, human rights cards. So we have the United Nations in the mix. We have Mexfam in the mix, giving them these papers where they have a year to establish themselves either in Mexico or insert themselves into the United States via a petition of asylum, which we know 90% of them are going to be denied anyway. So what's happening is this creating an inverse situation of inverse migration back into Mexico, where at least 20 of these people that are petitioning for asylum are being returned into Mexico via Tijuana. So if you start multiplying that times 30 days, that's 600 a month, and then you multiply that per year. We're talking 200 people per year being returned into Mexico and not returned back to Honduras. So this is creating another problem along the border, which is also going to be unattainable. Now, the first caravan that arrived into Tijuana created such a disaster, a humanitarian disaster, because the Tijuana government, the state government of the state of Baja California, was not equipped for the caravans, was not ready, did not have any shelters in place. Everything was just improvised. And as they improvised, they realized that these people did not want to cooperate with the state authority. They did not want to cooperate with the local authority. And this created a situation where a lot of the people within the caravans, not all of them, because I can't say and generalize that everybody is this or is that, but we do know that a lot of the people within the caravans started committing, breaking the law, committing crime. We have cases down in central Mexico as the caravans came through of rape. We have cases of muggings. And we have also cases of Hondurans acquiring weapons in Mexico City in these street-style swap meets that they have going on in different points where they're being given weapons. And we're talking not small weaponry. We're talking about AR-15s. We're talking about 9mm Glocks. And this is confirmed by people there. Okay, so we know that they've been acquiring weapons, and then they've been positioning themselves. Where would you say? Well, we have a very strong presence of the Central American gangs in Guanajuato, where the theft of gasoline has been an issue that has basically brought down the oil industry in Mexico to its knees. Now it's being supposedly confronted by the new administration of the new president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, in order to stop the theft, the massive theft of gasoline from the gas lines that are coming out of the refineries. But it's gotten to a point where people got burnt to a crisp. We have 115 people that died from an explosion just 2 weeks ago, which was horrible, as they were siphoning off the gasoline. But they weren't even siphoning it off. It was like a volcano of gasoline flying into the air, and people just grabbing buckets and taking gasoline for their cars, because there was an artificial shortage of gasoline being created by the current administration. How so? Well, the new government entered in on the 1st of December, stopped gasoline imports from the United States into Mexico. So this created, during December and part of January, an immediate shortage during the holidays, where people would use more gasoline than normal, and that created a situation that basically 3 weeks or so already now, with gas shortages in at least 10 states of Mexico. This has affected the economy. So again, they're using many tactics in order to bring Mexico down, just as they would with the United States. Another example is that there is a very important port in Mexico down in Michoacan called Lázaro Cárdenas. Now, Lázaro Cárdenas is a marine port where they unload most of the containers that come from different parts of the world, and they put them on railroad tracks so they can reach Kansas City. Okay, you remember that Trans-American Corridor system? Well, that's basically where it starts. Well, now the teachers that are claiming they haven't been paid well enough, they blocked. There are at least 9 blockades on the railway system as of like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now the losses are going up to at least $45 million. The goods that should be reaching the United States are not being transported. So we're having a series of events also on the border there with Matamoros and all of you guys in Texas. McAllen, Texas, I think, is the at the border there with McAllen. It's Matamoros. In Tamaulipas, the maquiladora industry, the factories are shutting down. There's a general strike right now. At least 59,000 people are at the risk of losing their jobs. 3,000 already lost their jobs this week. So you have these massive strikes. You have these blockades, and they're all directed to weaken the economy of the United States inside Mexico. So as we're seeing all these events transpiring, there's one finger you can point at, and that's the left. And which left are we talking about? Well, a former CIA analyst and officer, Brad Johnson, wrote a piece back in November 2018 where on the Epoch Times website, the epochtimes.com, just look for it, Brad Johnson. He goes into depth who's behind the caravan. And it turns out it's an axis of countries that are working against the United States, and they will not surprise you. Iran, Russia, Venezuela, Bolivia, obviously in the mix, Nicaragua, El Salvador to a lesser degree, and now Mexico. So we know, and Cuba. So now we know which countries are behind the illegal immigrants, pushing them, moving them, and they planned this from the beginning. You know how long it would take to create a massive migration or influx of people to know where to take them, which cities would house them, etc., and then put them on buses at a massive scale? This is a very concerted effort that required a lot of logistical planning to get them all the way to Tijuana instead of taking them to the easier ports of entry, which is Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua. Okay, so they're using this politically to attack the United States. That's been established by me in my research. But not only that, we have also the presence of Russia and China and their interest inside Mexico. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. Could you bring them up on situation on the border of New Mexico and where these people are planning on coming through? And can you let America know just how serious it is for not just America, but the people on the border, why we need boots on the ground so bad down there on the New Mexico border?
Okay. Yeah, sure. There's a problem right now with regard to terrorist activity, not only in Southern America. South America, we have a heavy presence of Islamic groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, but also they're working together in tandem with the organized crime groups, the cartels, namely, in order to get themselves inserted into Mexico. But now, not only using the caravans or any other way, they would be inserted into the United States. How? As they enter the United States, Mexico, they reach the border, and then they set up their operations along the border and then get inserted via the human trafficking operations that organized crime groups have already in the region. Just for example, today, supposedly the Mexican government saved 160 migrants in Chiapas that were being taken by human traffickers and being charged $1,000 each just to get them across the border there in Chiapas. So these people have the money to pay human traffickers to get them up to the border. The problem with right now with New Mexico is New Mexico has become a very porous border where these people can just go up to the border in New Mexico, leave their rugs even in the desert and passports, and this has already been established by the conservative media. And when I talk about conservative media, I'm going to talk about Glenn Beck. He did a documentary about, I don't know, maybe 5 years back called Rumors of War 3. Now, in that documentary, he established how they're crossing the border via New Mexico, via Arizona, and getting into the United States. So we not only have ISIS operating in Central America, we have ISIS operating in South America, and the financing of all of this via also other Islamist countries that want to use the Islamization of the Americas as another tool, a political tool to get themselves into power. We already saw that with the new election, the midterm election in the United States, they already have a Muslim congresswoman, I think. So it's all of this being pushed through that. Now, at the border with you in New Mexico, all of this was already clearly established by Judicial Watch, who has done great work in Irene Garcia specifically. She's done great work in trying to get this documented specifically, that there were cells operating of ISIS in Ciudad Juarez and also along the New Mexico area where they're crossing into Santa Teresa and other parts into New Mexico. Now, that whole region needs to be fenced as quickly as possible, because if it's not fenced, these people already know how to enter and insert themselves into the United States. Case in point, there was an Al-Qaeda terrorist that crossed into the United States back in multiple times. He crossed through Santa Teresa. His name, I got him right here. Hold on. He's a very important person of interest. He was killed later in a drone strike by the United States. And he crossed in the region called Anapra, just situated west of Ciudad Juarez, okay? And also Puerto Palomas. Okay, those are the places where they're inserting themselves into New Mexico towns, reaching Columbus, reaching Deming, and that's where they get access to routes. They're picked up and then just inserted into the United States. So that is why not only the United States needs to protect its border there, and specifically in that region that's porous and very sensitive, because there's also military installations there that are very secret for the United States as well. White Sands, New Mexico, to name a few. You also have the Socorro, New Mexico, who has a lot of important naval research observatory. So they also could become targets. You have nuclear deposits there also of nuclear waste. The guy's name was Adnan El Shukrijuma, and he was a known Al-Qaeda terrorist. He was on the FBI's most wanted list, and he crossed back and forth through the Texas and New Mexico border. He helped plan a series of attacks. He wanted the Chicago studios of Oprah Winfrey at the Sears Tower back in the day in 2009. And this guy was able to enter freely into the United States many, many times through New Mexico. So that is why it's so needed that a fence be built urgently along that path. Now, Customs and Border Patrol announced that they were going to, they confirmed the building of this wall. They released a statement back in April, I think, of last year, that they were going to start building this on the 22nd of January of this year. So it's $73+ million that they're going to be using to lift up a wall along this region in New Mexico of what I've researched. I don't know what you guys have.
Okay. Hey, I got Mary Murray wants me to ask you. He says, Johnny, ask Alex if about 5,000 are being held on a bridge in Chiapas. You know anything about that?
I haven't monitored the media as of right now, but if they are being held there, what we know is that 2 days ago, 3 days ago, it was today's Monday, it was, Monday, today's Tuesday, right?
Today's Monday.
I'm sorry. It was last Saturday. last Saturday, 3,000 people stormed through the Mexico border in Chiapas. Okay? They stormed through again, covering their faces. We have it on video. They covered their faces totally, and they shouted like Indians. You know, I don't want to be disrespectful to the Native Americans, but they were singing like that, like tribal chants. I'm not kidding, and this is worrisome in itself because they're celebrating their illegal crossing into another country, another sovereign state. Now, the problem with sovereignty is that Mexico already gave away its sovereignty to the United Nations once they signed this Migrant Compact migration treaty. So the problem is that they have a free ride now. Now, supposedly, to make it look good, the Mexican government tried to make it like they're giving a bracelet and they're trying to formalize their immigration into Mexico. But as we can see, thousands of them, when they form in mass, cannot be stopped by any government when they are determined and resolute into crossing illegally. For example, in this case, in Mexico, because the new policy of the Mexican government, and get this, is to forgive all criminals. So they want to forgive everybody because it's the poverty that has brought criminals to the forefront. And nobody would sell drugs if they weren't poor. Nobody would be doing this type of kidnappings or whatever if they weren't poor, if they had an education. So basically, we have to blame the neoliberal agenda. So they're blaming the capitalists, they're blaming the United States for everything that affects poverty in Mexico, and from there, crime escalates. And it's the U.S.'s fault for all the crime that has surged in Mexico, bringing it to at least, you know, a war-torn country. Now Mexico, by the Heidelberg Institute, which is a conflict barometer at the University of Heidelberg in Germany, qualified for another year that Mexico is in a state of war. So of all the countries in the Americas, Mexico is the only country which is technically in a state of war. Now, the war is not in all the states. It's isolated in different states. But, you know, the impunity and the corruption has gone to such a degree that it's reached all the levels of government. So the new government, what they did basically is they're trying to create their new militarized police system, trying to make it look like the U.S. National Guard, which has nothing to do with what they're trying to do in Mexico. They call it the National Guard, but it's not that at all. It's just a military force that is loyal to the new socialist regime. So, these 5,000 that you talk about that are being housed at the bridge there, I don't know about that, but it wouldn't shock me that they're using the shock doctrine system to create this shock, this news media impact that, look, it's thousands of them, and it is true. Now, with the other 7,000 that came in back in October, November, and through December, they weren't the 7,000 at all. They were much more than that. Then when they arrived into Tijuana, they were 7,000, but then they split them up into a new shelter that was being financed by the Mexican federal government and the United Nations, which, by the way, is going to be closed this week, and they're not going to be paying the rent anymore, so where are they going to arrive when they reach Tijuana again? So that's the problem. Out of those 3,000 that were housed in the new shelter, they're gone. Nobody knows where they are. Of the 7,000 that were split up, the other 3,000 just went, you know, nobody knows where they are. So we have at least 6,000 immigrants that arrived to Tijuana in the first caravans of November and December last year that really nobody knows where they are. Did they petition for asylum? Are they within the United States? Is the United States returning them into Mexico? At that degree, at that point, I'm not sure. So we know that a lot of human trafficking groups started grabbing them and taking them into warehouses in order to charge their family members inside the United States money in order to get them across the border through illegal smuggling. So that creates another enormous issue that has to do with human trafficking and also the trafficking of drugs, using humans as mules or putting drugs inside their bodies even in order to get them across the border through the smuggling route that mostly you in New Mexico already know that exists.
Very true. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, what Alex is telling you, I know is true. We've heard from others, but Alex contacted me and told me what was going on down there. I asked him if he'd be a guest on our show, and I'd like to have him as a regular on our show as much as possible, and even help him with his format, because they're trying to shut him down on his format. So I told him that he'd probably be able to use our format to also to reach out to you folks and reach out to the American people and let them know what's going on. Most everybody here knows who Alex is. He's very reputable. He has inside people that he works with also, like us. And I know that, when we can get inside help from where our enemies are at, that are coming across, and they're planning on coming across to New Mexico because they know it's an open border. And that's why we need boots on the ground. We need people here. We need as many people as possible. So if you would like to be boots on the ground, give me a call at 505-334-2492. We need patriots. We need people here that will be responsible, that are not John Wayne's, but can follow orders. But our orders are, if fired on, to fire back. And that came from law enforcement. They don't expect us to get fired on and not defend ourselves. But as the Constitution of the United States, it also states that we have the right to defend ourselves against foreign or domestic. And that we will do. Now, one of the things that I want to say also, we've had some really great people. And Mary, I want to thank you for your donations. Tim, just all of you. You guys have been so good, I can't remember all the names now. But I am giving each and every one of you recognition and a thank you from the United Constitutional Patriots, because your donations go to the men that are on the border. Like I said, we had a very generous donation today, and I really appreciate it. And the two gentlemen that brought it, one's a Vietnam vet, one was military, but he didn't get to go with his friend under the buddy system, but they want to do what they can to help. And they said that when we need someone to run to the border, they will be more than happy to run our supplies to the borders to keep the guys down there. The guys on the border are not in motels. They're not in restaurants. They're in tents, living on the border, and they need help. They need supplies, from food to clothing to tents to tent heaters, binoculars, night vision, radios, you name it. I'm talking about your walkie-talkie type, which we do have quite a few radios that have been donated. There are I can't think of the name of them. They're not your regular CBs. They're anyway. I'll get back to it. I'll remember it in a minute. Boy, I'm just tired, folks. It's been a really hard last 2 or 3 days with everything that's been going on. With the losing of our man Kevin on the border, we now found out that he is in Albuquerque up there. I don't know what his body, but I was told that by our man down on the border, it was his partner, that they moved him to Albuquerque, and they're trying to contact his family in California. This man was a former Marine. He was a very good man, and we can't let this go unnoticed. And that's what part of the, we're asking for donations to the United Constitutional Patriot Facebook page, where if you can donate to help his family with funds on the funeral, whatever we can do to help them, I want to do that. Just make a note of where you want the funds to go to, if it's his funeral or if it's to go to the men on the border. Where you donate on our PayPal, you can make a statement down there where you want this money to go, and we'll see to it if that's where it goes. Now, another thing, if you want to send dry goods, dry foods, please They're not amateur radios or commercial radios. VHF commercial radios. Thank you, Nuclear Warrior. The man that, like I said, Doc Robinson, if we had updates, that's all that I know right now. He is at the coroner's office in Albuquerque. So I'll give you updates on Kevin whenever we can. But remember him and his family in your prayers. He was a patriot, and he was a very good man. Now, another thing I want to cover: if you want to send donations of gas cards, Walmart cards, anything, these guys that they need something, we can get it to them so they can get what they need. You can send it to the United Constitutional Patriots, care of John Horton, or Mark Cheney, Cheney, at Post Office Box 1334, Flora Vista, New Mexico, 87415. We need your help, folks. We need boots on the ground. When these people come, they're not coming here to be nice. Like Alex said, they're flying their country flag and burning ours. You know, that is an act of aggression. That is an act of war. And we cannot get the military in New Mexico until Trump is able to do it in a way that he can't be hit for treason. And he cannot call on us because of that. Bryan College arrived in Texas last night with members of the We Build the Wall Incorporated Advisory Board. Keflog and his team are meeting with landowners who want the wall built on their border property and with officials from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Which brings up another point that was in the Albuquerque News, which really shocked us because they've been pretty much with the left. It was also on Channel 4 News. The people living on the border down at the town of Animas are asking for help. They are being invaded by the illegals. They are being threatened. They have had stuff stolen. They're having break-ins. They have asked for help. We need the men to help these ranchers. That is down in the boot heel of New Mexico. They're coming through. This is not a walk in the park, folks. This is something that is very dangerous, and but we need men who are willing to step up and honor their oath they took when they went in the military, because you've never been discharged from it, who are willing to help protect America. Because the ones coming in through New Mexico, they are the ones that are going to spread out. They're coming in at 100, 150, well, actually down as low as 30, down in the Arizona, New Mexico corner. And why they're coming in large groups, the law enforcement is so few down there that why they're tied up with processing and arresting these people, the drug dealers and the child traffickers are coming across through different areas of the boot heel all the way down by Santa Teresa. This is where we need people. We need people to call me. If you want to be boots on the ground, please call me at 505-334-2492. And with that, I'm going to turn this over. First, I'm going to turn this over to Nuclear Warrior. He's got a report he wants to read. So, Nuclear Warrior, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Commander. Am I being heard okay?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good. We get a lot of questions about a lot of comments also about, well, what's going on? Nobody seems to be doing anything. The government's not taking care of the problem, et cetera, et cetera. And I keep telling the people that I get these comments from that there is a plan in place. Follow the plan. Q gives us information referring to the plan. Pay attention to it. Well, evidently it's not happening fast enough. There's a lot of impatience out there. So I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that one of our fellow patriots somewhere in the country has put this thing together, and he posted it on Twitter, and I borrowed it so I could share it with you all today. Now, keep in mind that all this took place, putting this together while we were still in the government shutdown. And this is all referring to the deep state and the obstructionists in the Democratic Party of the House and the Senate, okay? It starts out like this. The United States lost its sovereignty before any of us were born. He's referring to when the deep state started coming into power with foreign banks, the Rothschilds, et cetera, et cetera. We grew up in a totalitarian fascist country where public school indoctrination and income tax were mandatory. How does an American revolt against his European slave owners in 2018? Well, you revolt with the pen, not with the gun. This is the goddamn plan, his words. We are meant to trust. In case you didn't notice, it's been happening for a while. And many of us who keep up with the Q drops, et cetera, we know that this has been going on for a while, and we try to bring it to you in this broadcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when the information becomes available. Anyway, continues on. Now, this is about the deep state and the obstructionists again. The U.S. government is shut down. They cannot pay foreign aid to their crime organizations anywhere on the planet. They cannot interfere with the daily lives of American citizens. They cannot run semi-legitimate policing and propaganda operations against American citizens using our own money. They cannot enslave us with any more debt by borrowing from China or the Federal Reserve. Their lawyers are forced to defend a bump stock ban without being paid. Their TSA agents, which molest Americans but have never protected an American, are quitting and getting private sector jobs. IRS employees are refusing to work during tax season, because they're not being paid. The Senate has them by the balls and is voting against proposals before Trump even has to veto them. Okay, continuing on, their ranks have been infiltrated by useful idiots. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez makes their socialist agenda look retarded. Ilhan Omar makes them look like the political party of Islam. Their members in the House are voting against Pelosi, and their party is imploding. The U.S. military is on the southern border building a wall. Their illegal funding operations in the U.S. from selling drugs and people is absolutely disrupted. Talking about the deep state now again. Their low-level criminal employees for extortion and jobs in the U.S. have all been arrested since Trump just spent 2 years rounding up MS-13. They cannot replenish their head count because everyone is paying attention to the border. Their attempts to do so have been exposing their entire operation in Mexico and turning the Mexican people against the cartel's anti-America activities. Their worldwide tax evasion and money laundering networks are under siege with Brexit. Just about every cabal-owned company on Earth avoids taxes and accountability by using tax loopholes between the European Union and the United Kingdom. Any hope of a soft Brexit that maintains the loophole has just died. A hard Brexit cuts the cabal off from their sheltered dark money. Hang on here while I change pages. And continuing on, their control of worldwide currency values has died with the loss of the petrodollar. The dollar is the world's reserve currency because until recently, every country on Earth that wanted to buy oil was forced to trade using dollars. This was all set up back in the Nixon administration, back in the 70s. What this means is the value of the dollar was controlled by OPEC and the Saudi royal family. With China, Saudi family, and the Fed working together, they could print unlimited dollars and still control the dollar's value. Trump has built a network of worldwide control using U.S. and Norwegian oil production, change of Saudi royal family succession, collapse of Iran and Venezuela, calling out NATO for buying Russian oil, and waging a massive trade war against China to put money back directly into the Treasury with tariffs, completely bypassing the Fed. Their ability to threaten nations with nuclear annihilation have been completely dismantled. Iran's secret facilities in northern Syria were likely blown up. North Korea was ripped from their control, so they don't have a place to launch from anymore. Trump has been hunting submarines for 2 years. We have been shooting down ICBMs using classified technology. The Army is installing anti-missile and anti-ICBM technology all over the globe. We announced classified tech to stop space launches in the boost phase, and our intent is to use it. Excuse me. They are fighting as many as 80,000 legal battles in the U.S. courts. We have seen the sealed indictments in the courts. We know the Clinton Foundation was raided by the FBI and the ATF. We've seen prominent pedophiles indicate that they are spilling their beans to cut a deal. George W. Bush, Kevin Spacey, Wiseman, etc., just a few examples. Trump has declassification gun control, Trump has a declassification gun pointed at their head at all times. And these are comments that Q has stated in the past. This one in particular really rings true. FISA brings down the House of Representatives. 9/11 can bring down the CIA. For all we know, the previous admin is already undergoing secret military tribunals, and they've executed McCain. And what's happened to the 2 Bushes? Well, that's a good question. We have our suspicions. They lost the Senate. They are losing the courts. The Ninth Circuit Court was burned. 50-plus court appointees happening about every couple of weeks. We got Kavanaugh finally into the Supreme Court. And the big question now is whether or not Ruth Ginsburg is alive or dead. Take a pause here while I change to the last page. They can't ever rig another election. California taking millions off voter rolls in one county alone. Florida officials being fired and investigated. Election fraud lawsuits popping up all over the country. These things are happening, but you're not hearing much because mainstream media is just not going to cover it. But it is going on. Militant groups are flooding every country they could have considered to be a safe haven. Yellow vests in France, Trump-like candidates in Italy, Poland, etc., riots and revolution in Iran, and revolution in Venezuela. Their human trafficking in Syria just had the floor drop out from under it. U.S. military withdraws suddenly. That means no more military insiders helping them in secret. That means no more protection for organizations like the Red Cross. That means absolute chaos on the ground in a region where most of the people are armed and angry and want to expose the corrupt globalists, and the countries like Turkey and Israel and France are forced to send in troops to fill the power vacuum made by the U.S. departure while having extreme political troubles at home. Is this the same happening now in South America? It appears to be swinging that way. Chinese billionaires are being extradited by the U.S. government. They cannot even open and run a cell phone company at this point without being arrested by Americans. And his last comment is that we are the media now, because you can't trust the mainstream media. And that's pretty much it. I hope that brings all of you folks that are questioning the narrative and wondering what's going on, if anything, behind the scenes. Let this be a filler for you. And as we find out news and information to this effect, we'll put it here in the broadcast. Back to you, Commander.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, John Boy D. Is MLG taking our guns part of the plan? Well, they're going to try, but it's not going to work. The Second Amendment will never fall. As long as we have our weapons, we can fight for our constitutional rights. If anybody tries to take your weapons. I really got something really, I was happy to see today. I seen a video where sheriff's departments, law enforcement all over the country, where they are banning weapons in the states. They say, we are not going to go after anybody's weapons. They're refusing to honor the laws that are passing in the states saying that they're taking guns from people. So that is a good thing. Now, one thing that's going on in our state that when we had Martinez as our governor, I thought that could only go up from there. Well, we ended up getting a new governor, and now she is trying to make this a sanctuary state. A lot of law enforcement throughout the state and government agencies are up in arms over this. We are going to fight it. We're not going to let that happen. This woman is already committing treason because she took an oath to support the Constitution. So I don't think she's going to last long as a governor. And I do know that the people of New Mexico, 98% of them are gun owners. 98% of them will not give their weapons up. They're going to have to fight to take the weapons from the people of New Mexico. And I don't think that that's going to go over very well. Now, the sanctuary cities here, as you know, President Trump is going after all sanctuary cities. And it's all gonna get there. Says they'll take our guns if the Dems and if Barr gets approved. Red flag laws are sneaking in all over the place. Barr is against the Second Amendment. Okay, Melinda, I want to explain something. They can be against the Second Amendment. Trump's for the Constitution and the Second Amendment. Who has the most power? Think about that. And if you think for 5 seconds that Trump's going to let that happen without one hell of a fight, I don't think it's going to happen so easy for him. There's a lot going on in the state of New Mexico that needs to be addressed by the people. We, the people, we are the government of the state of New Mexico. We put people in, and we have the power to pull them out. We need to stand together. This is where we all need to stand together. I don't care if you hate Trump or not. You love what he's doing. He's given our country back to us. Nuclear Warrior, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Melinda N. Burns, I've read your statement here, too. There's some things that have to happen in order for the Second Amendment to be taken away, gun ownership, etc. They keep trying to skirt their way around it by trying to limit the capacity of magazines, limit the types of ammunition, what have you. But in order for them to take away the weapons, they have to first take away the Second Amendment. And in order to do that, it has to be brought up as a bill in the House and the Senate. It has to be voted on in order to take it to the public, and it requires a 2/3 of the states to amend the removal of that amendment. That is not going to happen because every politician knows that that's a death sentence if they decide that they're going to support a move to take the Second Amendment out of the Constitution. That's probably not going to happen in anybody's lifetime while this is still the United States of America.
Hey, Nuclear Warrior, John Boy D, I haven't heard anything about this. I do not believe this is true. That may have been fake news you may have heard. One Feinstein has disappeared. Nobody knows where she's at. What about Trump backing Feinstein's assault weapons ban? Trump is not backing any assault weapons ban that I know of. Do you know anything about that, Nuclear Warrior, or anybody on our team?
I have seen bits and pieces about this, and it all looks to me like it's fake news. And if somebody has been keeping closer track of it than I am, pop on in here. Greg usually keeps up on stuff like that pretty well. And if he's available, maybe he can further expand on that.
Okay, Greg, go ahead.
I think he was saying that possibly he would support bump stocks, but I think that's a small issue here. But if you want, I can go ahead and give a quick rundown if that's okay. I want to talk a little bit about socialism and what's going on in Venezuela. Remember, this was the beacon of Bernie Sanders. And, I get very, very irritated that people don't know the history of America. And that's why I keep trying to get people to go to American Watersheds, AmericanWatersheds.com, and learn the history. Remember, Marx said that socialism leads to communism. Getting back to the socialism that led to communism in Venezuela, we see that this Maduro tried to take $1.8 billion out of the Bank of England, and it was blocked. His $8 billion in assets overseas have been blocked. He's starving his people. The children are starving. Our president is not going to stand for this. He's not going to allow children to starve. We've been watching the situation there for a couple of months. We saw the military of China off the coast. We saw the Cuban and Russian troops moving in. There's a great deal of wealth in Venezuela between their gold and their oil. And there should be no poverty in their country whatsoever. But this is what happens when you give in to globalists and socialists. And, in this quick history lesson here, I think you have to go back. Debs was the socialist candidate back in 1920. He also, was in with the International Union Movement, which was the globalist movement. That they wanted to use unions to become the globalist socialism and lose our sovereignty. And, you really need to go back and understand, I get a lot of people trying to put down FDR. I might remind you that FDR was the man who made America great the first time. He was elected to office 4 times. He and my grandfather and his men, starting in 1934, defeated the globalists eventually in the sit-down strike of 36 and 37, but they first met in 34, where FDR had told my grandfather they just couldn't do it yet because of the Depression. But, FDR ended the Great Depression. I don't think anybody wants to lose their Social Security. And I get pretty irritated with people that don't know the real history of this globalist movement, because we were under globalism, okay? The men worked so hard, they couldn't even crawl home, okay? If you cut your hand off, they just rushed you out of the factory. They wouldn't even let you take bathroom breaks, and if they did, you had to have someone go with you to the bathroom. It was complete and utter communist control. We are not going to let these kids down there starve. President Trump is doing something about it, and it's not interventionism, it's humanitarianism. But I just wish people really understood their history and the importance of the Wagner Act, which was the only thing that Marx didn't see coming, was, that we could have power to the people and get a voice and eventually emerge a middle class and civil rights and women's rights and these other things. Now, I got a little bit upset too. I didn't like seeing Roger Stone being rated the way he was here. He's a little old man. He would have gladly turned himself in. I kind of went off. I wanted, Christopher Wray thrown out of there. But I'm learning to trust the president. He's a genius. He had to reopen the government to get these judges in and approved so that we can have real justice. He had to open the government to deal with the Venezuelan situation. And, I really want to apologize that I got a little upset because, I've met Roger Stone. I've used the frequency technology. He had a bad knee for 6 months. Within 2 or 3 minutes, he could walk up and down. He walked up and down. He lost all his knee pain. We used the Tesla technology on Roger. So, I was pretty upset to see what happened to Roger. But I have to trust my president. He knows what he's doing. He's a genius. He's the only one that can prevent this economic crisis that they have set us up for. He's the only one that can defeat Big Pharma. His uncle is the one that had all of Tesla's work and all of his papers kept. So President Trump knows that we have to defeat the big pharma deep state. So, those are just a few of the things that I had on my mind. We've been watching this Venezuelan situation, and there's no one that I want negotiating to get the Chinese out of there, to get the Cuban army out of there, to keep the Russians out of there. God forbid we had some idiots out there. I mean, personally, I like these really stupid people in the Democratic Party. I want Maxine Waters and Pelosi. The last time we had a smooth talking, Democratic candidate, we had Obama and Clinton, and they destroyed the country as far as I'm concerned. When I look at all the policies that they put through, they really did serious damage to our country. So I would much rather have really stupid people that love to media can turn into good.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, hang on just a second. Alex wants to add something to this you just now said. Is that okay? Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, as far as Russia goes, Russia's heavily invested not only in Venezuela, it has its eyes set on Mexico. We have confirmation. This is confirmation, okay? This is not fake or anything. We have confirmation that Russia is already militarily operating on Mexicans via covert operations. I can't go specifically into it, but we know at least that they have brought in very important equipment, very similar to the one that recently arrived to Venezuela. We know, and this is a fact, that they're wearing Mexican military uniforms with Russian flags at Mexican military bases. This is right now. And Russia's not in Venezuela. Russia's at your footstep, America. Russia's right here on the border now. And it's getting to a degree where Russia, just like it did with Egypt after the fall of Hosni Mubarak, they struck a deal with Russia militarily to fight, supposedly fight the Islamic State. But now, very similarly, with the new leftist government in Mexico, they're going to sign an agreement to build 10 Russian military factories in Mexico to fabricate or to build MiG aircraft and also armored vehicles. So that is happening right now in Mexico. Russia is already here. Also, China controls the 5 main ports that Mexico has. It controls both sides of the Panama Canal. And that's another thing that you need to know, because China has been smuggling weapons into Mexico for years now and been allocating, let's say, forwarding bases of operation along the border with the United States. And that's not being talked about either. Back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, that's it's more of the same kind of thing. And you see the at the United Nations, the Italian Prime Minister, that he said, if you think you can tell us that you can how to control our borders, it's not going to happen. And he walked right out of the United Nations. And all I can say is thank God for President Trump, and everybody should pray for President Trump, because we have some very complicated problems. And I guess I got to apologize. I got a little mad. I didn't understand how Christopher Wray could allow this raid on Roger Stone. But this all comes back to the globalist United Nations program to take away our sovereignty and to put us under the same one world government that goes all the way back, as you said, to the 1912, when we surrendered to the administrative rules. We want to give a shout out to Edward Johnston. I see he's listening in here, and get to understand the Constitution of we the people, and why we never wanted to be under this globalist control, and how, to know how we defeated them the first time. It's just, this whole idea of somehow socialism is a good idea, and this whole thing that, Bernie Sanders is going to try and, of course, he'll be the candidate, and he's going to try and push this same socialist agenda. But like Marx always said, socialism leads to communism, globalism, it's called slavery. That's what we had until the Wagner Act, and the people rose up and defeated the globalists. So it's just, that's all I really want to say. I look at it from a historical perspective, and I really get mad when people want to rewrite revisionist history because they don't like the history, and they take down our statues and all this crazy stuff. You have to know your history so that we can repeat it. They always say, know your history so we don't repeat it. I say the opposite. They erased your history because they don't want you to know your history, so we can repeat it to defeat the globalists, and we can only defeat it if we all stand together. I hope some of you will look at the new platform at AUAT.org. That's against tyranny, Americans United Against Tyranny. Because really we have to stand together, and it's the only way we're going to defeat them again is if we all stand together. And we see these situations, we have to have enough people that organize together when we see this tyranny. So, it's to me, it's just a repeat of history. And if they hadn't erased it, we would all know that already. So that's all I wanted to say, Johnny.
Thank you, Greg. Now, we got some other news we want to bring up also. Chuck, do you want to cover the shooting that I talked about earlier today?
All right, sir. We'll do that. I'll give you all as much as I've got right now. It's still an ongoing situation. But earlier this evening, at about 5 o'clock in the evening, and I suppose that was Central Time because Houston, Texas would be Central Time. But there were approximately 12 Houston police officers who were serving a warrant, and they believed that this place. Now there's a in this area where this is, there was a supermarket there, a food store, and right behind the food store there's a number of houses, and I guess one of these houses they believe was a drug house actually. And they were serving a warrant on somebody there. Well, anyway, as they were serving the warrant, gunfire broke out. Some of the neighbors have indicated it sounded fireworks going off. So, if you'll think about a string of firecrackers or whatever going off, sounds like we're talking about a firefight here almost. But there were 5 police officers out of the 12. There were 5 police officers that were injured. 2 of them are currently in surgery. Both were shot, I guess, through the neck, and they're both in surgery. 3 others were wounded. All are in stable condition, and it looks like they're all expected to survive. I think we had reports earlier of one suspect down, and they were apparently trying to negotiate. The SWAT team had a house surrounded, and they were trying to negotiate with another possible suspect, and then there was some indication that the suspect down and the suspect they're negotiating with may be the one and the same suspect. I don't know at this time, but it's still an ongoing situation. There's a high police presence there, and again, 5 officers shot. It looks like they're all expected to survive, and we have been advised won't go into great detail, but we have been advised from higher up that they are on it. They pretty much have an idea of what this is, what's going on here, but that they are on it. And so that is the situation in Houston, Texas at this time.
Thank you, Chuck. Folks, now it's time for Pete's perspective. So, Pete, let's hear from Pete.
Pete, they can't hear you on live stream.
Okay. Sorry about that, folks. For some reason, Pete wasn't getting out there. I don't know why. But I do want to say, situation with these police officers, you know, they're the only ones you have that has your back right now in your towns, your cities. We hear of these shootings quite often, and it really bothers me because these men, they have a job to do to uphold the Constitution and uphold the laws of your state. First one, when you have a problem, they're the ones you call, and they put their life on the line every time they get behind the wheel of a vehicle or put that badge on their chest. They're going out there for you folks. The men in blue aren't just people that want to go out there and show off, flash their red lights and blue lights and play with their sirens. They want to keep you safe. And I really get upset every time I hear about one of these shootings, especially when they're trying to take our weapons away from us. To me, that's a red flag. It's a Democratic agenda. It gives them more power. We need to stand up as Americans together, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand. Call your congressman, call your senators, get on the phone. You're the ones that can make the difference whether you think you can or not. Let them know you don't support what they're doing, excuse me. This is not one of these countries that they've taken their weapons away from. You have seen what happens to countries that have lost their weapons. Next thing you know, they have no rights of any kind. You can't walk down the street without being fearful of them being arresting you because you spit on the sidewalk. So when you think about it, folks, think about the law enforcement, your first responders. They're there for you. If you see one in trouble, help them. I don't care if you're at a gas station, one of them's gassing up. Shake their hand, thank them for what they do, pray with them. You know, it can make a big difference in their life as well as yours. The same man you're shaking his hand might be the one you're calling to help you if you have a problem. And that man will remember it. Attitude is everything. I see these videos where people, well, I hate the cops, I hate the law. What would this country be like if we didn't have laws? You know, this isn't the Wild West anymore, but it would be worse than the Wild West. You know, just like, you know, I don't understand why the Americans can't pull together, unite, and be like it was back in the 50s and 60s when I was growing up, where you showed respect to not just the elders, but to everybody. We didn't have to lock our doors or lock our car. If we broke down on the highway, by the time we got stopped, there'd be 5 people stopping to help you. Now people are afraid to stop because of they don't know what's going on. They could be getting set up. So think about the law enforcement in your area. Think about what they do. You may not agree with everything they do, and you may get mad if they give you a ticket. You may get mad if they give you a DWI and take you to jail for drunk. But you know what? They're doing their job. This is what the whole thing is about. Mark Hill just put, I absolutely respect our law officers, military and first responders. We all should. Because they're all ready to give their life to keep you free, to keep you from being unharmed. Just like our men on the border, they're willing to give their life. They're willing to die for our country, to keep you free, to keep you from having somebody in your backyard kicking your door in the middle of the night, coming in, raping your daughters, killing you before you even know what's going on. Because this is what we're facing, folks. I don't know how else I can make you understand the situation we're in this world. Greg, go ahead.
Commander Horton?
Yes.
I would like to add something to that effect. In Chiapas, in Suchiate is the southern easternmost tip of the Mexican state, down on the border with Guatemala. The people are uprising now against the government. I wrote a piece on that last week, very extensive, because the caravans come through and they rape their children. They're fearful for their lives. The people are fearful for their lives. The children don't want to go to school. Middle schools are closing because it's full of these caravaneers, call them that, smoking marijuana at the public parks in Chiapas. And they grab people and they take them and they violate them. That's happening right now in Chiapas. So the people need to wake up, because it's not only on your side of the border, it's also down here, and it's only going to get worse. You need to reinforce your border, America, and you need to reinforce that border wall right now.
Thank you very much, Alex. And I'm glad that you said that, because it just backs up. What's going on down there, folks, is what's going to be happening here if they come through this border. This is the border they're going to try to come across, and this is why we need your help. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, just to comment more on that, that's actually already happening here with MS-13 and some of these gangs, that you'll find a girl on the side of the road crying and saying that she needs a ride home, and it's a setup. If you find a girl crying on the side of the road, call 911, take her to the police station, because it may be a setup. You may be taking her to a house and find yourself robbed and raped. I also tripped over my tongue a little bit. I gave a shout out to Ed Johnson. I want to go, we still are praying for Ed. He's fighting for his life. We want you to hear his show. The name of our show is called United Constitutional Patriots, and he teaches about the Constitution. So I want to give him a shout out at Oregon Trackers. And we're also looking for volunteers to help build a platform so that we only have two things. We have each other and we have our Constitution. And so Americans United Against Tyranny. That was what I was trying to say. Americans United Against Tyranny.org. And we're looking for some volunteers to help build the network so that we can more effectively communicate and respond. And right now we're facing a lot of abuse from Facebook. We're always, our posts are banned, and we're just taking all this abuse, and people are getting so frustrated. And I really feel like those two things are what we need: our Constitution, and we need each other. And we need our president. And that's what we needed back in the 30s. All we had was the people and a president. And at the time we had a governor, Murphy, who was a great governor and went on to be a Supreme Court justice. But those three things allowed us to beat the globalists. And we need the same things today. We need a president, we need each other, and we need our Constitution. And so I just wanted to correct that a little bit. Thank you, Johnny.
No problem. Folks, if you can help us on the border, if you can be boots on the ground, we want to come down and defend not just our border, but our country, please call me at 505-334-2492. If you're able to donate to us, I don't care if it's $1. Every penny helps. We're helping to get these guys on the border, make sure they're taken care of, they have what they need. They're not being paid. Nobody in the Patriot movement is paid. Our team works day and night to get information to you folks every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 o'clock. And we do this so you know what's going on. We want you to know what's going on the border. But our men on the border, when they go down there, they need help. They don't have jobs. Their job, they have decided to take on their own as patriots to defend your home, your family, no matter if you're in Washington State, New York State, Florida, or California. If we stop these people from coming through, we're protecting your home. You're protecting your family, because that's just one illegal outlaw, criminal, MS-13, ISIS, drug dealer from coming across that border and not getting caught. So if you can donate, please donate to the United Constitutional Patriots Facebook page. You can Google it. On it, there's videos where you can see the border of New Mexico, what we have, and what we're up against. You can also see a list on there that shows things that we need, the men need down on the border. You can go on that. If you are capable, if you're able to send supplies, please send them to the United Constitutional Patriots, Post Office Box 1334, Flora Vista, New Mexico. Send them in care of John Horton or Mark Cheney, Cheney. Here, the supplies get here, and when we get calls, people need something. We have runners, they run it to the border, get it to them so they have food, supplies, warmth. Batteries, AA, AAA, they're needed. Flashlights, anything you would need if you were camping, this is what they need down there. Blankets, sleeping bags that are good to 20, 25 below, or 20, 25 degrees, but usually you'll get them down to where they're, ones that I've got here, some of them go down to 20 below zero. But this is what we're looking at, folks. I can't paint a pretty picture where there is no pretty picture. We've already lost one man. I don't want to lose any more. The more we get on the border, more men we get on the border, the more the border we can protect, and the more of the child trafficking and drug dealers we can stop. They have minimal law enforcement on the border. Right now we have State Patrol, small group of Border Patrol, the forest rangers. Now I got really upset because I contacted the sheriff's department down there to let them know that we were wanting to come down there and protect the border down in that area and the people in that area. The sergeant on the sheriff's patrol, who's in charge right now because the sheriff just had open heart surgery, told me that they didn't deal with immigration. They would not back us if we called them unless they're breaking into a house or something. They said that the Border Patrol and the State Patrol, they could deal with it. They look at us, and he says, are you the ones that come down here that got lost? I assured him it wasn't us. The ones that was the Arizona group, VOP, went over. They were going to do a wide variety of things. Actually, they're called vigilantes by the sheriff's department. He thought it was us at first. And when I told him, nope, we're right out of New Mexico. We're licensed and we're registered with the federal government and the state of New Mexico. He started changing his tune, but he still said he'd like to meet us. However, they still would not back us. They have 4 deputies in the town to cover 3,000 square miles, I believe is what it is. I'm not sure. But the law enforcement won't back you. You know, that says a whole lot. This man took an oath. But also, too, we know that that particular area down there, that most of the law enforcement is paid off by the cartel. So we know what the situation is. But the people down there have asked us, literally asked us for help. So we need people to go down there. That's down in the Boot Heel area, down in the Animas area. I think it's what's the name of the county? Nuclear Warrior, Hidalgo or something like that?
Yeah, Hidalgo County.
So anybody comes down and they want to go into that, in that area, help these ranchers, protect them from their from what's going on the border there with them, with people coming across, stealing from them and threatening them and everything else. Just know the sheriff's department won't back you. You got to have the state patrol, or which we have the numbers to the state patrol. I was told from the state patrol sergeant who to trust down there and who not. I have the numbers for them where you can call and they will respond and take matters the way they're supposed to legally. We're not down there to shoot anybody. But however, like I said, we're fired on. We will fire back. I don't expect anybody not to protect themselves. Another thing, if you go to the border, you got to cover your face because the cartel is using facial recognition at the border. It's not like it was 10 years ago. A whole lot of different stuff. So this is what we're up against, folks. So if you can and you're willing, please donate. If you're not capable of donating, your prayers. Prayers are stronger than anything. At least pray for our men. Pray that we're able to stop this invasion coming through. Because from all of our intel, what we're being told is that when they come through New Mexico this time, they're coming through, they're going to rush the border. Now, Alex can tell me if that's true or not. I don't know. Is that true, Alex?
Say again, please.
That we were told that this next group coming through is going to try to rush the border?
No. What we have right now is that at least 10,000 are already in Mexico. They're already being dispersed into different central states. They do that as a diversion tactic, so the U.S. gets confused to where they're going. But we know that 2,500 are already in the state of Veracruz. We got thousands more arriving in Mexico City and other parts of Mexico, Oaxaca, etc. And what they're doing is that they're going to bus them to the border. Okay, now senators, Mexican senators are behind the bus operations to bring them up to the border. What you are about to listen to is part of our research of people with inside the caravan investigation that we're doing. At least one Mexican senator of the PAN, which is the National Action Party, her name is Xochitl Galvez, said in a enclosed meeting with other people that were there. I talked to one of the persons that was there. She said that they are projecting at least 7 million people to come into Mexico via this new immigration plan. And I'm going to quote her, and excuse my bad language, but I'm quoting the Senator Xochitl Galvez of Mexico. She said, imagine yourselves, a whole lot of fuckers are coming up the border. They're coming from Paraguay, Bolivia, Ecuador, Brazil, Africans, Haitians, Jamaicans, and others from the Middle East and Europe, unquote. And this was documented by also Mexican national security and human rights organizations. And what's worrisome about this comment is that it's 7 million, what they are projecting to bring up and create this border crisis with the United States.
Wow. So you can see what
they're doing. They're doing the same thing they did with Europe. Now, they defaced Europe. I'm half Swedish, okay? Now, Sweden is in a state of war right now. It's literally in a state of war. Sweden became the rape capital of Europe already now. 46% of the rape victims are minors. These people, their culture, their peasant culture is, I don't understand your law. We're going to do whatever we want in your country with our flag in your country. And they even burnt the Mexican flag down in Honduras, I was told. So they're willing to enter any space or domain and take over. These people, they act like hyenas. They really are acting like wild animals. They form in packs. They enter and they start destroying, they start pillaging, they start robbing, they start raping. This has to be stopped. What I don't get is that the Mexican government's not doing anything about it to put boots on the ground down on the border with Guatemala. They're not doing it. And what this is going to create is that Mexico could be labeled as an enemy state of the United States by using migration as a coercive and engineered method of blackmail, political blackmail. It's a very dangerous terrain. If Mexico is going to go full leftist with Moscow behind it and Cuba behind it, we have Cuban operatives inside the caravan. We have Russian soldiers on Mexican military bases speaking perfect Spanish now. We have Soviet, well, let's not call them Soviet, let's call them Russian intelligence officers operating in Mexico. Just in the state of Baja California, okay, tens of thousands of Russians are already inhabiting the state. And this is getting to a point where also Islamic centers are opening up like McDonald's along the Mexican northern part of our border with you in the United States. So it's going to get to a point where all this is going to explode in somebody's face. And if the United States does not shore up its defenses right now, they're going to take the United States down. I really have to say that because there's no other way to look about around the strategy. This strategy has been planned from the beginning. We see it in Europe. Now we're seeing the terrible results in Europe. But what they did is they benefited from it. They could bring the face of Europe, and I'm going to say it because there's a literal war, and I don't want to sound supremacist or anything, but there's a war against white America. And I'm sorry to say it that way. I'm not against any culture or race or religion. I'm not against anybody. I'm not superior because I'm white or not. I'm saying that there's a clear attack against what America used to stand for, as you said, in the 50s and 60s, which were Christian values, Judeo-Christian values. People would respect the law. And now, thanks to this culture war that collectivism has brought upon all of us, because I have children, you have children, you might have grandchildren even, that are being attacked and sabotaged. This is a sabotage, subversion. They take them into the school system and they brainwash them. They come out of high school and they don't even recognize you as their parents anymore. They're taking away our traditions via brainwash methods, and all this was created by the Soviets. Now, Gorbachev with his green agenda is winning because they're creating this new sustainability. It's the end of the world in 12 years, they're saying now, if we don't do something now to curb climate change. They provoked this chaos with the climate. They are the ones behind geoengineering, Bill Gates, okay, and company. We have Warren Buffett sitting down with Oprah Winfrey, Ted Turner from CNN, and Bill Gates in a house up in upstate New York saying, how are we gonna reduce the world population by 90%? We need to do something now. Well, how are the communists going to do that? They're going to declare war, and they're going to massively bring down the population. They're not going to do it by peaceful means. You can't bring down 60, 70, or 90% of a population just by migrating people from one place to another. They want to attack our identity as people. They want to take away our history. They erased from Mexican schools logic. Is not a subject anymore. Logic, philosophy is gone. Civil ethics is gone. The study of the Constitution is gone. In Mexico, we only have people that are millennials that don't understand anything more that's beyond 140 characters on Twitter. You can't have an intelligent discussion with these people. It has been reduced to a 5-watt light bulb. You cannot talk to them anymore. So we have a war of identity, a war of values on multiple fronts. So it's a cultural war. It's a war that is being lost because we are not defending ourselves as we should.
And I agree with you 100%. So, real quick, I'm going to go back up there real quick. Mark Hill, you asked what kind of tents, etc., are available, or would they have to bring their own? If they can bring their own, they can. We do have some donated tents, but we're very limited. You can get them fairly cheap at Walmart, Kmart. They're just don't get any red tents. You know, green, gray. I would stick with that. Red tents, you stick out like a sore thumb. You know, you can have red tents if you have them, but personally, if I'm sitting on the border doing observation for the Border Patrol, if they got glasses, they can pick you out in a red tent quicker than they can anything else, or yellow. So brown, moss green, yes, that's what I would suggest. Black. So I hope that answers your question, Mark, and I hope you're getting better. I understand that you had surgery, and I hope everything turns out good, and I know you're disappointed because you weren't able to get here yet. Folks, if you have any questions for Alex before I finish my last commentary, go ahead and ask questions. He will answer what he can. In the meantime, I want to, urge you folks to please donate, help us get people to the border again. If boots on the ground, people want to come, please contact me. I'm Johnny at 505-334-2492. I'll tell you what you have to do. There are legal things we have to do to be able to put you on the border, but if you're willing to go to the border and help, we need everything from medical staff, people who can do running, people who can take care of things, help the men that are in the field. There's a lot of things. It's unending what you're able to help, to help us do. Matthew Wall, that's my mat. Foxhole and a poncho will do. Well, that's your call, my friend. I know that you're coming. I know we talk quite often on the internet, and I'm looking forward when you can get here, my friend. You're a true patriot and been a friend, personal friend for a long time. I want to thank all of our listeners for being here tonight. We try our hardest to give you the news that you need, give you the truth so you really know what's going on. We give you what mainstream media won't give you. They will not tell you the truth. They will give you everything but the truth. And there's a lot of good talk shows out there. Personally, I'm kind of prejudiced. I like ours because I know what we give you is fact to the best of our knowledge. And we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We will give you updated news, old news, new news, whatever. Bill, I want to say hi to Bill Gallagher. He's listening. He says, hello, good job, John. God bless you, John. You know the Patriots are on the show. I just want to spend $48 for more groceries. I thank God every day that I can spend that. And he's been collecting supplies for the Patriots. We do have a gentleman coming down from Nebraska. We'll be picking him up and the supplies and bringing him up here. He should be here right around the 1st, and I'm looking forward to seeing you, Bill. Talk to him on the phone when I can. Mark says, I'm thinking about going out to the Army surplus store and see what they have so I can send useful items to the border until I come. If you want to do that, Mark, it's highly appreciated. I know that you're a part of our group, and I wish you were here, and I hope and pray your surgery, he had knee surgery, folks, so let's keep him in your prayers too. We've got a lot of good people that I've got to know personally that are listeners. They call me. If we miss a show, I get a phone call from CJ or Warren wanting to know, why aren't we on the air? They're great people. She's a retired detective out of Louisiana from, I can't think of the name of the county right now. My mind just went blank. St. Bernard County. And she said that some of her detective friends turned her onto our show some time ago. They've been avid listeners. They've made donations. They've done a lot, and I really appreciate all of you. And thank you, Lisa Pritchard, and God bless you too. We need you guys' support. We need you guys to know that we're there for you. And if ever something goes on, you need to be able to contact us and let us know what's going on, so we can even send help. We are not just a group that works the border with Border Patrol, Border Ops. We help. We're trying to be the first boots on the ground when there's hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, whatever. And now we've had some boats that have been donated to us, so now we will be able to also be with the boat rescues to where we can actually rescue people. There's another reason we need donations, because nobody is getting paid. Our organization is a nonprofit organization, and we work strictly off of donations, but we use it to help the American people, no matter if it's on the border, for our border boys, or if it's someplace where somebody is in a hurricane and is stuck on a roof and needs to be pulled off that roof. We're going to be there for you. So with that, I want to thank you for being with us. And Chuck, I'll let you close our show. If anybody else have anything they want to add tonight before we close the show down? Okay, Chuck. Would you mind doing the closing prayer, and then I will close the show?
All right, sir, we'll do that. Oddly enough, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask all our prayer warriors to say a special prayer for the pastor tonight, because I have been in severe discomfort all day. I'm physically disabled myself. I suffer from severe degenerative disc disease and a couple of different forms of arthritis, and it has been typical Indiana winter. It has been chilly and wet all day long, and now it's starting to get downright cold. And I've been in severe discomfort all day in my back, my neck, so you might want to add the chaplain to your prayers. Okay, so here we go. Lord Jesus, we come before you right now. We thank you once again for this another opportunity that we've had to come here and do this program and to put forth information to the American people that they need to know. We thank you, Lord, for this great work that you've given us to do. On behalf of our country and on behalf of our president, we work hard here each and every day. We've got a great team. We ask you, Lord, to bless this team that we put together here, or that you put together. And we ask you, Lord, to bless our president and our vice president and their families and all those working together with them to the betterment of our country and the defeat of the deep state. We ask the Lord to continue your watch over all those that are standing watch on our border and standing watch over our country. We ask you to watch over them. Let your angels be encamped around about them. Your blood of protection be upon them. We ask you now, Lord, to continue with us throughout this night and into the coming days. Continue to guide us, guard us, and direct us, and draw us ever close to one another and ever close to thee. For we do ask it all in Jesus' holy name. Amen and amen. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen. Okay, Mary Murray says, use hawthorn berries and black elderberries for your pain, Chuck.
Where am I going to get them?
I don't know. You might have to check a health food store or a grocery store. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us tonight. And as always, I urge you to support your local law enforcement, our first responders, our military, our patriots, the people that are there for you when you really need help. You know, like I said, a lot of times you get upset with them because they may give you a ticket or something, but you got to remember, they got a job to do. You know, I'm sure they don't just pick you out of a crowd just to mess with you. We've all had our run-ins with them, and we've had our discussions with them. You know what? They're willing to be there to lay their life down for you, your family. They're willing to be there for you when you're hurting. They're willing to be there when you need prayed for, too. I know several very good Christian officers. And in fact, I was down at the gas station the other day and ran into a friend of mine that's with the sheriff's department, and he asked me how it was going on the border, and I gave him a report. And he reached out and put his hand on my shoulder, and he says, brother, so let's pray for all of you right now. And I looked at him, I said, let's pray for each other, because we all have the same thing in mind. Protect our people, protect our country, protect our flag. And we prayed. While we were doing that, a woman that was getting gas, she walked over and put her hand on both of our shoulders. I was wearing my uniform shirt that says United Constitutional Patriots. She came over and prayed with us and thanked both of us for what we're doing. So people do notice. People do care. You reach out to somebody, a smile goes a long way. A good word to somebody goes a long way. You know, they respond to how you respond to them. And that's all I can say, because that's how it works. So we will see you again Wednesday and Friday. We're here every Wednesday, Friday, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And we will have more information for you. I want to thank you all for being here. Keep President Trump in your prayers. Keep all of our first responders, all of our law enforcement, our patriots, soldiers, especially. Two things you need to keep in your prayers. The strongest of any is for President Trump, and to keep our flag flying. Old Glory, been there a long time. It's been through hell. It's been shredded, it's been fired on, it's been, you name it, but it's never hit the ground. As Americans, let's keep America free, and let's keep America and the American flag where it belongs, on a flagpole flying in a free country. With that, I want to say good night and God bless you. If you have children, they see something, they tell you about it, listen to them. If it's not right, call 911. Don't take no chances. It's too dangerous out there anymore, folks. We love you. God bless you. Y'all have a great, great evening. Good night.
Thank you for joining the United Constitutional Patriots Radio Show. Our next show will be on
Chuck.
Wednesday.
Get some rest, buddy.
Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific.
What do you think? What do you think of our show?
We're not clear yet. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, sorry about the interruption, but our next show will be on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. So God bless all you patriots and have a great night.